Aloha, namaste. I have our full moon forecast for this Thursday, this Thanksgiving Day. It's going to be at 9:39 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it's going to be in its exalted state. So the moon is full already, which is like the highest, most full range of our emotions and our mind and our capacity to really feel that optimism, that growth and expansion. And it's going to be in its most exalted place, which is the beginning of Taurus. Taurus is where we're grounded, it's where we feel earthy, it's where we like to eat and feel sensual pleasure, comfort. We feel easy harmonizing with others, but we also really enjoy our own space and our own environment. It's where we are comfortable and stable. And so the mind is more stable, more comfortable, more at ease, and less riled up and emotional and impassioned. Because it's in the early degrees in the star of Krittika, we see that we're also able to sort of cut through the mirage or that which is not truth, and feel stable in that which is real and grounded. Taurus is all about the earth and food, growing things, art, beauty, but there's a truth there, because even though Taurians can get caught up in their sensual pleasure and in the reality of comfort and joy and material possessions, that there's something very grounded about that when you're talking about your emotions, because our emotions can be really driven by all these different things, these illusions, and Taurus is the earth. It's what is in the physical, tangible world. And then Krittika has that power of dividing oneself or separating oneself and seeing into the truth of things. There's a really beautiful myth around this star. It's often referred to as the Pleiades, and in Hawaiian culture, there's a strong connection to the Pleiades. They believe the first Hawaiians actually came from there. But in the Vedic culture, the myth has to do with Agni, the god of fire, and he is admiring the wives of the sages through his fire while they're all sitting around meditating. And there's this woman named Swaha, and she's in the forest, and she really admires Agni. She wants to be with Agni, but he doesn't have anything to do with her. And so she impersonates each of the wives of the sages and makes love to him in their form, and then takes his seed and deposits it in this lake in the mountains. And she does this with 6 of the 7 wives, and the last one is unable to be impersonated because her devotion for her husband is so strong, Arundhati. And so the lake then has all of this seed of Agnis from these occasions, and somehow the sages are told that their wives cheated on them, and they believe that story and cut off their wives. Krittika means to cut off, so they send their wives to the stars, and so the Krittika is those 6 wives that are cut off. Meanwhile, there's a demon on Earth who is taking over. Actually, he's not just on Earth, he's taking over all 3 worlds, and he is becoming a menace to the gods themselves. His name is Tarakasura. And so the gods all get together and they ask Shiva, who's the divine masculine, to mate with his wife Parvati and have a child, because the boon that this demon has that's keeping him invincible is that he can only be killed by a 7-day-old child. So Shiva and Parvati are making, love passionately, trying to create this child, and in the meantime, the worlds are rocking, the mountains are crumbling, everything's coming down because it's so thunderous, their love making. And so the gods say, hey, you know what, actually stop. But they interrupt them in the middle of their lovemaking, and Shiva is just about to dispense his seed, because he usually holds it, he usually holds on to it, so it's like this epic thunderous seed. He's just about to dispense into his wife when they get interrupted. So the seed goes flying off, and Parvati is pissed. So they try and house the seed in the womb of Mother Earth and Boom Devi, but Parvati curses her because she's not letting anyone else hold that seed. If she can't hold it in her womb, Boom Devi isn't getting it. So then they try with the Ganga, with Ma Ganga, the river, and again she gets cursed. And then Agni tries, and again cursed. Finally, a little bird lets loose that there's the seeds of Agni in this mountain lake, and if they bring the seed of Shiva to this same place, maybe something will happen. So the seed gets deposited in the lake, and the lake starts to tumble and churn, and big things come out, and smoke pops out, and suddenly a child is born. And it's a volatile child. It is screaming, it's red, it's wild, it's maniacal, and the gods are like, no way, this is not happening. So they take the child and give it to the 6 wives that have been cut off from their husbands and are put, they're put in the sky with him, or they're already in the sky, and he's sent with them, and they're told to put poison on their breasts and feed him. But they can't. They fall in love with him. They have that motherly, nurturing quality, and they didn't do anything wrong to begin with. The reason they're sent there is based on a lie. So they start to nurture this child, and they feed him their breast milk without poison, and he becomes strong and lovable, and he's tamed down. His wild energy becomes focused and is more channeled and less crazy, and he starts to walk really quickly. He's only a few days old. He starts to walk, he starts to climb, he starts to be very strong. And then all the other deities involved want a piece of this child. They're like, oh, he's my kid. Shiva's Parvati, like, he's my kid. Ganga says it's my kid. Agni, everyone wants this child to be part of theirs. So he splits himself into 6. Again, Krittika, this division, and each, one goes with one of his parents. Meanwhile, when he turns 7 days old, he marches into war with Tarakasura and beats him even-handedly, no problem, and then saves the world at 7 days old. And this is Kartikeya, which also comes from Krittika. He's known by several other names as well, but he's associated with the planet Mars, with our capacity to fight, to have courage, to have discipline, to show up for ourselves, and to do repetitive action again and again and again in order to get results, and to not have an emotional attachment, or to not have something swaying that, and also to be able to show up, to not be too lazy is really the power of Mars. So that's the story of Krittika. It's half in Aries, half in Taurus, or it's more in Taurus and a little bit in Aries. And the Taurus part is where it's exalted. So that's where this moon is. And so we can expect to have a lot of capacity to ground ourselves, not a lot of emotional challenges as far as our mind and emotions go. We do have across the way both Jupiter and Mercury join the sun. So Jupiter is just a few degrees away. It's about 3 degrees away from the sun. So we're going to see that we might feel like our beliefs and ideals are not fully listened to because it's considered combust when it's that close to the sun. So that can cause some issues when you're hanging out with your family around the dinner table and discussing beliefs and ideals. And that of course includes things like politics and religion. And then on top of that, Mercury is retrograde, so we might have some trouble expressing ourselves. Mercury is in the sign of Scorpio, a little bit emotional, passionate, kind of all those things I said. The moon is not in Taurus. Mercury is in Scorpio. We see that we kind of want to control others with our tongue, and we might have a tendency to use our emotional state or our passionate state to dictate what we say. Because it's retrograde, we might have the capacity to hold our tongue a little. But we also might say even more of the wrong thing. So good time to listen and just shake your head and nod, especially if you're hanging out with your family. And, maybe you don't feel listened to, but that's okay. You don't need your family to listen to you. Your mind and emotions might feel that stability enough in Taurus where you kind of are able to brush these things off. Or maybe not. I guess it depends on where your natal moon is and how stable you naturally are and able to ground down. Definitely focusing on the food, growing the food or harvesting the food if that's in your capacity, or cooking the food. Ooh, Taurus loves to cook. Making things beautiful, arranging, focus on the work, the hands and what they can make and create, and try not to get caught up in the words and the beliefs and all that and the ideas, because deep down you have potential to feel really good on this Thanksgiving. Mars itself is giving drishti to the moon, and Mars is at 10 degrees, the moon's at 6 degrees. So we're going to see also that potential for flare-up. So again, there's definitely, despite the exalted nature of the moon, despite the fact that the moon is feeling grounded and good in its home sign there, or in its exalted sign and its Mula Trikana sign, it's also has potential for some fighting and some not good feelings. So maybe doing a little work with the earth and even some yoga before you show up to wherever you're going could be good. And just really tuning in with yourself, really noticing for yourself where you're allowing yourself to go with your anger or with your ideas and beliefs, and wondering if it's worth it. Are you convincing someone of something? Is there actually a battle being fought here? Like, is there a chance that anyone at the table is going to agree with anything you say, or is it all just family that's kind of stuck in their ways, and it's just going to bring up uncomfortable feelings for everyone? So there's a chance for potential good feeling, but also lack of discernment and feeling like your beliefs are just being squashed by sort of an authority or father figure or something like that. And certainly some anger is possible as well. The planet Venus is also giving us a bone here in her own sign of Libra. She's in early degrees and just started to move forward. So we have that desire to be harmonious with people, that desire to feel good. And in our relationships, our romantic relationships, we can really allow that give and take and that balance and that diplomacy that Libra is so famous for. So hopefully we have enough of the positive to sort of weigh out the challenges. And I wish you a blessed Thanksgiving. You're welcome to comment or share or like. And I have a report on the 12 signs, the 12 rising signs from the Vedic system, and how they are operating with Jupiter's current alignment in the sky. So Jupiter moved into sidereal Scorpio in the past month and some change now. And we are going to look at how that affects each of the different rising signs. So if you want to get that report, sign up for my mailing list. And I hope to see you again real soon. Happy day to be grateful, and blessed be. Namaste.